All right, good afternoon, friends. Welcome to our episode of The Inside Approach. We're going over the ABCs of becoming more. Today is letter B, belief in yourself and becoming more. Or B, build the B. Oh my gosh, here we go. Let's start over again because I already blew it out.
No, you're good, dude.
Okay, be the one. There we go. Good afternoon, friends, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of The Inside Approach. The ABCs of becoming more. We're going to be covering the letter B today, belief in yourself and being the one.
So today's guest has been one of our greatest mentors for years, our business partner and a dear friend of ours. In addition, he's a global entrepreneur who has built 5 multi-million-dollar businesses that have generated more than $2 billion in revenue. He's an acclaimed keynote speaker who has shared stages around the world with icons like John C. Maxwell, Jamie Kern Lima, and Ed Mylett. He's a heart-centered husband and a proud father of 4. Yet he was raised in a broken home. He has no college education. He began his professional career flipping pizzas in construction and selling animated Bible videos from a mall kiosk. In fact, his very first business left him below zero financially. And his first sliver of success came while raising his kids in a one-room loft above his in-laws' garage. His unexpected rise, proven personal development strategies, and tailored success systems have moved and motivated millions of people to create, design, and live an unforgettable life. In his latest book, Be the One, he shares the precise tools, habits, and actions, and steps to help any reader do the same. With a focus on practical and actionable advice, this book serves as an easy-to-follow instruction manual for anyone to, as he puts it, be the one. Justin Prince, thank you so much for being here.
Man, what an honor to be with you guys. Thank you so much for having me and being in my house. How cool is this? I love it. What a freaking great experience to have you here.
We're extremely grateful. Extremely grateful. I got a very important question for you that I want to ask you right at the get-go. I want to know about your boxing career.
Let me start by saying the older I get, the better I was at boxing. Okay, so the word career, we might be overplaying the word career here a little bit, but when I was a kid, my dad, I remember when I was a young kid, my dad taught me how to throw a punch, right? How to throw a jab, how to throw a hook. And I think every person, but specifically a man, has a couple of responsibilities in a household, right? They need to provide and they need to protect. Like if you had to narrow it down. And so I think every man should know how to protect themselves and protect other people around them. My dad just told me, he goes, I don't ever want you to be a bully. I don't ever want you to, because if you pick on someone else, then you're going to have to come home and pick on me. And he said, but if someone's being bullied, I want you to be the first one to stick up for him, And so he taught me how to throw a punch as a kid. And my folks had divorced when I was 12, so we moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. So we never really got anchored into a community or a school. You're kind of in new schools a lot. So that confidence that came from knowing how to protect yourself was important. But then also I needed to use it a few times as I was coming up. I remember he hired a guy that was on the Bulgarian Olympic team when I was about 15 to come train me, 15, 16. And I learned a ton from this guy. He had broken English, he was tough as nails, and I learned a ton. But when I was about 17, 18, I started training with Gene Fullmer. Gene Fullmer was the super middleweight champion of the world in the 50s. Gene Fullmer he's in the Boxing Hall of Fame, beat Sugar Ray Robinson. So a lot of people think Sugar Ray Robinson is the greatest fighter that's ever lived. And so Gene beat Sugar Ray to win the title. And Sugar Ray's the only person that ever knocked Gene Fullmer out. Gene Fullmer was a bad man. And so Gene was the champion of the world. His brother, Don, was the #1 contender in the world. So, he was the #1. He fought for the title and was #1. And then his other brother, Jay, was number 10 in the world. So they called them the Fighting Fulmers. Think of these guys. World champion, #1 contender, number 10. They were from Utah, and they were tough. They were tough dudes. They were from a place called, the high school is called Bingham Miners, because it's out in the west side of Utah where it has the Kennecott copper mines. So these guys grew up in the mines, and they're tough dudes. And so when I learned from them, that's when I really started learning how to actually fight. And I remember a couple times we'd go to the Golden Gloves, and I wouldn't have anyone my weight to fight. So you were trained, you were ready, you go there for weigh-ins, there was no one to fight. And so I actually only had one sanctioned amateur fight. I fought for about 1.5 years in the gym. And some of those sparring matches were not sparring matches. They were intense. We fought There was some kids named Art and Armando. They were from South Central LA. They're both in gangs back there. I can't remember if they were, what gang that was the Mexican gang. But they, you know, all tatted up, and these dudes were so tough. They were bigger than me, had nasty left hook. They both turned pro. Those guys both fought pro, turned as pro fighters. But my only fight ever was, had all the high school come. It was my senior year. All the high school came, all my friends. And I fought this kid. It was like his 15th fight. It was my first fight. And the first round I just came out, and I was just like, just whap, 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 whap. And he was catching him. I caught him a couple times, but he was mainly catching him. And he just slow played me. He slow played me. Like, go out the second round, and I was just like, whap, 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 whap. All of a sudden I was like, oh, geez. I was just, all the adrenaline left your body. You know, so I remember when he was hitting me. In boxing, they have this is a stupid story, but in boxing, they have this thing that's called a chin check. So you have your gloves like this, check your chin just to hold your gloves up so you can catch their punches. So I remember he hit me like 3 times, and I was like, I went to do a chin check, and my hands were down here, you know? And I was like, dude, put your hands up, you know, what's wrong with you? And I went to put my hands up, and it felt like there was gasoline in my blood veins, you know, that was on fire. And I was like, dude, I was like, it hurts worse to put my hands up than it does to get hit. So I was like, I'd rather just take a few of these, just pop, pop, pop. And so I just ran out of gas, and so we ended up, I think it was a split decision. We both got trophies or whatever. And this is back in the day where they didn't just give trophies to everybody. Like we both got our trophy, and that was my only fight. That was in the Junior Olympics. And Junior Olympics, by the way, sounds bigger than it is. Junior Olympics is just like, it's an organization just like Golden Gloves, you know. So anyway, here's one thing that is interesting though. So Tony Robbins talks a lot about priming. So if you imagine like you prime a pump, so the water will come out of a pump, it's like prime the pump. So there's exercises you can do, there's things you can do to get yourself into a peak state, like a peak emotional state. So before you speak on a stage, or before you do a training, or before you start a physical fitness routine, right? Because you maybe come in a little cold, and you didn't sleep well, and you're a little sore. There's some things that you can do to get yourself, your body's warmed up, right? You're ready to roll and perform at a peak state. So I since I was probably 15, I would shadow box just to kind of get my rhythm going. And so if anyone's ever watched me before I speak, for example, I'll shadow box. And I have like a whole little rhythm that I'll do, and it starts a little slow, and afterwards just, and it probably looks like, what an idiot, what's this guy doing? But it's a priming exercise. So if you look at any great athlete, like if you watch Steph Curry before a game, Steph Curry has a dribbling and shooting routine that he'll go through it's mechanical, it's habitual, go through it every single game. If you watch an Olympian before they get in the blocks, everything they do is on purpose, because it triggers their mind into like, hey, it's time to perform. Or if you watch a gymnast, they'll do that, you know, the way that they get ready for the movement is all very habitual. As entrepreneurs, we need to do the same thing. I have a coaching client that's in the financial services business, and he had a deal that he had a client that he had been working with for like 6 months. They're like, hey, we'll meet tomorrow, meet next week, and whatever. Just finally, the guy's like, yeah, I don't want to meet. And he's like, dude, I've been working like on getting this appointment for 6 months. This guy had, I think, $20 million cash that he was trying to roll over so that he would manage. It's like a huge loss to him. He's just like, oh, just like a big kick in the gut. So when we're doing our coaching thing, I was like, because there's 2 great questions we have to ask as leaders. Question number 1 is, how far am I going to fall when negativity hits? So 1 is a depth question, how far. Second question is, how long am I going to stay down? So that one's a duration question. So it's like, how far am I going to fall? A scale of 1 to 10 when negativity hits. And the next one is how long. So you've seen people that like, they fall to rock bottom, but maybe they went through some real stuff. Bankruptcy, divorce, addiction, some real pains, real hurts. They hit rock bottom, but then you say, how long do they stay down? Some of those same people, they're living a great life now. It's the craziest thing ever, right? They didn't stay down too long. So one of the ways you can do this is you can create new ways to prime yourself to be in a peak state. So with him, we created literally stuff where there's music he'll listen to, there's things he'll say to himself, and then he has a thing where he just hits his chest like this. Tony Robbins calls it like a power move. So Amy Cuddy wrote a book called Presence. So you guys ever met someone where they walk into a room and you're like, I don't know what it is about that guy or that girl from across the room, but there's a presence about them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's just like, whatever the it factor is, they have it, right? So Amy Cuddy's whole study, she's a Harvard professor, or a Harvard researcher, and what she said is presence something that you just have and someone else doesn't? Or is it something that no matter who you are, you could develop? You develop presence? And her thesis is that you can develop presence, and she walks through how to do it. So her whole thing is what they call the Wonder Woman pose. I don't know if you guys remember this, it was a famous TED Talk. But like, think of Wonder Woman, right? Like legs, instead of legs being like this, legs are like this, super strong, hands on their hip, shoulders back, chin up, like that would be like super strong pose. Do you want to know what's also interesting? So I have two little girls, they're 14 and 16. They've done studies where they describe somebody. They said, okay, legs are crossed like this, like shoulders are hunched down, hands right there, heads down like this. And they said, is this a boy or a girl? And they said, it's a girl. Like, they're describing the person. Was this a boy or a girl that's sitting like this? They said, it's a girl. So I tell my daughters, I'm like, listen, stand strong, be strong, shoulders back, lots of confidence. And they said, if you'll stand strong for 2 minutes, you'll biologically prime your body to increase your testosterone by 22%, lower your cortisol by 18%, and you'll be 33% to be more likely to be assertive, to make decisions, and to take action.
Awesome.
If you'll just stand strong. So they're like, hit your chest, like in other words, that power move, just it accelerates that. So here's what's so cool, to wrap this whole thing up. So for me, I can shadow box, and I can just, it take me 10, 15, 30 seconds, because I've built that muscle over time, to where it doesn't take me 20 minutes to get ready. I can be ready in like, I can be ready in 20 seconds. I remember I spoke like in Moscow, and almost Russia and Vladikavkaz. So I remember I flew over, and your head's kind of spinning, your time zones are all screwed up. And the speech I was supposed to give was at like 3 a.m. my time, something like that. And they're like, bleep, da, 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 da. And dude, I'm like foggy. If you've ever traveled that kind of, where you're international, you're just foggy, you know, got the jet lag. And they're like, you know, I remember they're back to da, 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 Justin Prince. And I remember I was like, I gotta be on right now, like, let's go. And I'd learned how to prime myself, even in 3 a.m. my time, right? Prime myself to hit that stage, full energy, full attention, full impact, even though you actually emotionally weren't, or you know, your head wasn't quite there, but you still could deliver at full capacity, you know? So, thank you to boxing for learning all that stuff, you know?
It's awesome, because I think a lot of it is like, we let our experiences define us, but at the same time they can edify us.
Yeah.
You know, so you translated boxing into something that can create energy and momentum and prime yourself and get yourself ready for any challenge or any type of event where you need to be on game.
Yes.
And that's what experiences should do in our lives. I mean, about, you know, being the one, you know, allowing those things to help edify us versus edify us.
Yes.
So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, your life is going to be a warning or an example. So it's going to be a warning of what not to do or an example of what to do. And so one of the things, and I say to people, where do you, like, what state do you live in? And they'll say, I live in Idaho, I live in Montana, I live in New York, I live in Utah. The emotional state that you live in, pissed, stressed, depressed, frustrated, ticked off, where you live emotionally, that's the state you live in. If you're full of gratitude, full of joy, full of passion, that's where you live. Because wherever you live in your house, like your emotional house, that's where you live. You could be in Montana and be ticked off. Where you are is ticked off, right? So learning to intentionally create an emotional state that's serving you, to your point, versus destroying you is so critical.
I love it. It's kind of funny when you're doing the pound in the chest. It reminds me of our uncle. We were at Lake Powell, and we were all challenging each other to see, clear the way, clear the way, clear the way. And every time he'd get ready to do his turn, he's just sitting out there outside the wake, and he's going,
That's awesome.
and it just reminded me, and I'm like, I'm gonna try that. So sure enough, I get out there, and I'm like, at first I was like, I'm gonna make fun of him, but I'm like, does this work?
Of course.
And it did.
And there's no question.
It built this confidence, this turning point.
That's right.
You know, or this awakening of I could do more.
Yes.
You know, I can challenge myself, not necessarily to keep up with him, but to take myself to another
be your best,
level
for sure.
to get ready for it. So
Okay, so
cool.
there's three things you can shift. There's 3 things you can shift to shift your emotional state, the way how you're showing up emotionally. Number 1 is your physiology, basically the way that you move your body, like that like aggressive action, or that hands on the hip, shoulders back, chin up, like that strength and that stance. I'll give you an example. If you were hiking I live in Utah. If you're hiking in the mountains and you saw a mountain lion, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to like run? Are you supposed to like, oh crap, hide behind a bush? No, dude, you're supposed to stand as big as you can, strong as you can. Like if you have a coat, put your coat, like in other words, look bigger. There's a physical reason, meaning like you just look bigger and look like, I don't know if I want to more intimidating. I don't know if I want to mess with this guy. There's literally a cycle, there's a chemical reason. When your testosterone's rising, the animal's just like, I don't know what's going on for sure, but I don't know if I want to mess with this dude, you know? And then obviously there's an instinctive reason. If you run, it's instincts. The animal's gonna, just charge because that instinct, you become prey. So, point is change your physiology. The way, if you think of a depressed person, what would if you had to describe a depressed person, imagine they're sitting in a chair and they're depressed. Are their shoulders back or slumped over? Slumped over. Is their head up and like this, or is it kind of down and hung over, right? Is their breathing like kind of shallow or like deep and strong?
Sure.
Probably pretty shallow, right? Their hands are probably like this. We're describing a depressed person by the way that their body looks, right? You can change your body and you're like, oh, let's go. All of a sudden you're not depressed anymore, right? Or in this example. Second thing you can do is change your words. So if you're like, oh, I'm such a loser, there's no way I'm going to do this, I suck at this. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Like I tell my girls, before you go out and dance, I go, sisters, I call them sisters because they're 14 and 16. I go, sisters, I want you to be like, I freaking got this. Let's go. I tell a story in my book about when I first learned how to lift weights. I was 15 years old. Did you read this story? Yes. 15 years old, I show up at the gym. My dad hires me a trainer. You'll appreciate this because of your gym background. But the dude comes walking across the gym. He's got a bandana on. He's 6'2", 300 pounds. So 300 pounds at 6'2", and he's, by the way, 10% body fat. So his waist is like this, his shoulders are like this, big old huge thighs, he looked like just a mountain of a man, but just boulders all over, big 22-inch arms, just huge. Tattoos, I tell people he had a tattoo on his neck. Like, dude, if you got a neck tattoo, you might want to check yourself, His name is DeMarco. I love him to this day. And he walks up, shakes my dad, handshake my hand. He goes, get your shoulders back. I'm gonna look like just a little 15-year-old kid. I'm like, yes, sir. Shakes his hand. He goes, I have 3 rules for you. He goes, rule number 1, he goes, never be late. He said, it's disrespectful to your dad, it's disrespectful to me. It's like, yes, sir, out of fear and respect, mainly fear for this guy. He goes, rule number 2, he said, I don't want you to come to the gym with rat breath. I thought, rat breath, what does that even mean? He goes, yeah, I don't want to be spotting and you're like, breathe. I'm just like, 15 year, if you ever raised a 15-year-old kid, you know what I'm talking about. So he goes, I want you to brush your teeth, chew some gum, tic-tac. He goes, don't come here with rat breath. And I thought, that's good advice both in and out of the gym, because I'm 15, I thought about working out and girls and sports, so there's only 3 things I thought about. So I was like, that's pretty good advice. He said, rule number 3, he said, I never want to hear you say you can't do something. He says, you have a conscious and a subconscious mind. He says, your subconscious will believe whatever you tell it. He said, so if you tell yourself, I can't lift this weight, your conscious mind will be like, okay, cool, you can't lift it, versus, I can. He said, so even if you think you can't lift it, don't say it. So remember, he would like move the pin down like this. And I remember just thinking to myself, and I'm 15, I'm just getting started, I'm a week in, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks into working out. And I'd watch him do that, and I was like, I would think, there's no chance I can lift this weight. But I didn't dare say it because I made a promise I wouldn't. Sure. So I would say to myself, I got this. I'm like, okay. So anyway, I would lift the weight. And then as I got a little bit further, I started to not only not speak negative, I started to speak positive. I'd say out loud, I freaking own this weight. Do you know what I'm saying? I got this.
That's awesome.
And I've translated that into business.
Mm-hmm.
There's been many times where it's just like, there's no chance this is going to work. And instead of saying that, I would think to myself, I'd say out loud, yo, we got this. We're going to figure this out. We're smart. We're well-intentioned. Like, what questions have we not asked? Like, shift. I would start, like, speak. Like, there's old Bible verses that say that death and life is in the power of the tongue. So you can speak life into your future. You can speak death in your future. I tell people to create your future with your future, not your past. In other words, create your future with your future, not your past. Most people create their future with their past.
Yeah.
So they cast out my future. Well, this is the past I'm dragging along, so therefore my future is going to look like this. Versus saying, what is the vision I have for my future, and can I create my future with that future vision of myself versus my past? So you can speak life into it. In my book, I talk about Christine Porras. She did study both at Harvard and at Georgetown on the power of words. She says for your neutral or positive words, so if you speak it, she says your neutral or positive words have 10 times the impact of a thought. So in other words, I got this, I can do this, I can make this thing happen. That if you think it, if you'll speak it out loud, it's 10 times more impactful. She says your negative words are 40 to 70 times more impactful. So I'm such an idiot, I'm so fat, like who do I think I am? That's 70 times more impactful than just thinking it on the negative. So First thing we can do is change the way you move your body. Second thing you can do is you can change the way the words that you use, speak some life into yourself. And then number 3, what you can do is you can change your focus. Because what you focus on expands. So think of it this way. You don't see the world as you see the world as you are. So if you see the flower and you see the thorn, the flower didn't change. But what you focused on was different. If it's raining outside and you're grateful for the moisture and you're ticked off that it's raining, the weather didn't change. But the focus was different. If the father has 2 sons and the father's in and out of prison strung out on drugs, the one son strung out on drugs in and out of prison blames the father. The other son's never touched a substance in his life, great person, great marriage, great member of community church, the whole thing, and blames the father didn't change. Because you don't see the world as you see the world as you are, and so what you focus on will expand. And focus creates feelings. So I'll give you guys an example. If someone says to you, something happens in your life where you focus on this, guess what? You feel that emotion or that feeling of that focus. Versus if you focus over here, you're like, why is this happening to me? And you're versus I'm grateful this is happening for me, right? Different emotions.
Absolutely.
Because the focus creates feeling. So those 3 things that you can do: move your body, change the way you move your body, put your shoulders back, be strong. Number 2 is you change the way you use your words, speak more life into your future. And then number 3 is get hyper intentional on what you're choosing to focus on. And those 3 things create that priming ability to where, man, you show up with strength and you can handle all the life throws at you.
Absolutely.
That was long, sorry.
No,
We'll make it shorter from there.
It just, those words again, kind of, there's one of the things I teach at the gym, as we train people, it's, is look up, stay up, look down, fall down.
Wow.
Because how many times, like you're saying,
Wow.
if we're hungover, we're slouched over, the tendencies to just keep falling are there. But if we're upright, if we have that posture about ourselves, we're gonna have correct movement for exercise during the gym exercises. We have our power stance in order to do whatever we're doing, squatting, lifting, whatever it might be. But just in our words, the more we look up with our words than look down with our words, we're gonna stay up.
I love
We're
that.
gonna maintain
Write that one
that
down.
energy level. So it's been good. It's funny because I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, look up, and they just quote it after me. Stay up,
Yeah.
look down, fall down, and they just love it.
I get
It's
it.
just fantastic.
That's what my kids do. They're like, Dad, I already know all your quotes. Don't do that. But here's the thing, though. You know how it is. That stuff anchors down into the
It
kids.
does.
Absolutely.
They remember these little mantras or these perspectives that we're sharing. And Roy Disney was Walt's older brother. Roy said, when your values are clear, your decision making becomes easy. You're teaching both principles and values when you teach this stuff. Hey kids, look up, stay up, let's go. Like the kids start to remember that, because then when it's a dark night, mom and dad aren't there, they need to make a decision, they can rely back on the values and principles they were taught.
Absolutely.
That's, one of the things we taught my boys when they were young, teaching the kids now is, Luke's are leaders.
Luke's the last name.
Luke's the last name. And then leaders are readers. And then the other one is, good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences.
Yeah.
Just keeping things simple, it's everyday things that we can apply to give us the strength, to give us the posture, to kind of remember where we are, to build that energy.
Yeah, so in the book we talk about, I sort of wrote the book Be the One, right? The one is an identity, like recognizing who you really are. So when you say Luke's are leaders, this is our last name, what you're doing is you're building identity into the kids. And a leader shows up and acts different than a follower. So a leader's like, yo, I gotta lead because I'm a leader, right? And I'm influencing people in a positive or negative way. And so success is an identity process, and you'll never outperform the way you see yourself. So if you see yourself as a loser, you're not gonna show up and play like a winner would. If you see yourself as a winner, you won't roll over and quit like a loser would. It wouldn't be true with your identity. James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits, and he says there's 2 boys, one of which stole the candy. They said, little boy, did you steal the candy? The little boy said, I didn't steal the candy. They said, did you steal the candy? The little boy said, I don't steal. So I didn't steal that particular piece of candy is an action. I don't steal is an identity. You're anchored into who you really are, right? So the one to me is, if you think of your parents, so just for the sake of this example, imagine your mom and dad. For those of you that knew your grandparents, think of grandma and grandpa, like the love we had for them, the relationship you had. Think, for those of you that know your great-grandparents, think of your great-grandma and great-grandpa. If you were to go back 12 generations in your family lineage, it's approximately 400 years And it was 4,094 people that came together from all over the world to create you and to have this moment. So you're the one. You're the one that those folks lived for and bled for and cried for and died for and laid it all on the line for, was for you. And every one of these breaths that we take, it's all part of the gift of life, right? All 4,094 people came together to create. And so you remember, I'm the one. Like right now we have the highest anxiety and depression rates we've ever had in the history of our country. We have the highest suicide rates we've ever had, specifically with the young men. One of the reasons that that's happening is there's a lack of identity of who you really are. If you realize that my life has value and purpose and meaning, and I'm not here on accident, I'm here by design, and there's things for me to do in this world, that's a different perspective than there's no more reason for me to be here, right? So the first thing is helping to awaken people to who they really are. You're the one. You're the one that can create and design and live an unforgettable life that future generations can look up at their family lineage and say, it was him or it was her. She's the one that changed our family's life forever. He's the one that, abuse or addiction or the financial principles that set us free, it was my great-great-great-grandpa. The second part of the book, though, is not become the one, it's be. So it's this idea that you already are the one, but here's how you be the one today. Here's the tactical, practical steps and formulas and frameworks to help you to be the best version of yourself, to be the one you're born to be. And I tell people, you're not who you are who you were born to be. And you say to yourself, okay, when you look at a picture when you were 7, right? You look at this cute little kid and you're like, oh, cute little picture. But you were 7, that's who you were, but that's not who you were born to be, right? You look at that same person when you were 17, you look at you as a picture in high school. And you're like, oh, okay, yes, you were 17, but that's not who you're born to be. When you're 27, same thing. 37, like you look at yourself and you're like, who I was born to be is this person that I was put on earth to grow into, right? Your full potential. The word decision comes from the Latin. So the scission meant to cut and the D meant off. So an incision cut in, a decision cut off. So if you came up to a moment of your life and you came up to this pivotal moment, you said, I'm going to make a decision to go right, you cut off all possibilities of going left because decision's cut off, right? To give you an idea, every decision that we've ever made our entire lives has put us in this discussion right now. Anyone listening, every decision you've ever made your entire life has put you in listening to this moment right now, right? So you made an appointment to be here. Here's what I would share. You've never been this old before and you'll never be this young again. And you can't always control what happens, but you can control what happens next. You can make a decision right now to be the one. Be the one for your family, be the one for your heritage, be the one that creates and designs and lives an unforgettable life.
Such a great message. I mean, knowing you for as long as we have and knowing what this book was going to be about, we were super excited. I mean, we bought 10 copies. As soon as you said, hey, my book's going out, we bought 10 copies. We were just excited about the messages that you share inside that book and what it really represents. So that's fantastic. I appreciate you bringing your words to a book and making your words, more immortal now. They're going to be around for.
Yeah, the response has been so positive and so overwhelming. It's actually really interesting. I'll share this with you because I hope this is important for anyone listening to hear. You want to know what's so interesting is when you first, maybe this happens when you start anything. But like, I remember when I first started my first business 18 years ago. I remember like part of me was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be successful. And then part of me was like, who the heck am I think I am? I'm going to fail. What if I fail? I'm going to look like a loser, And, here I am 18 years later and I've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses and done billions of dollars in revenue. So you looking back later, it's like, well, it's easy. It's, you almost wonder like, it's like what's called hindsight bias. Mm-hmm. Hindsight bias basically says, now that we know the end of the story, we forget the drama of the details. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But I remember when I was like launching the book, I was like going through all this like weird, who do I think I am stuff.
Sure.
And
even after all this success.
Yes. Craziest thing. Sure. Like, are people going to read this and be like, oh my gosh, I've already heard all this before? Or what's been so rewarding and gratifying, and this is, I think, a great lesson for all of us to hear is, listen, you don't want to die with all your music still in you. Mm-hmm. If you got a song to sing, go sing it. If you got a book to write, go write it. If you got a YouTube to post, go post it. If you got a podcast to start, go start it. Why? Because you just start doing your best to serve people. A service to many leads to greatness. Just do your best. Do your best. Serve those that want to be served. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Maybe someone else says you're stupid. Cool. 10 others say, I really appreciate the work you're doing. So the point is once it got out in the marketplace, people are like, hey, this is so impactful, like best book I've ever read, most impactful book, like, I love the actionable steps. And you're just like, what if I would have listened to that voice that was like, who the heck do you think you are? You're not an author. Like, what? Go back to doing what you do.
Right.
So you've got to just go. Don't die with all your music still in you.
Everybody has value. Everybody has a different
Yes.
value to bring because
Yes.
we all have a different perspective.
Yes.
And we all have lived a different life, but we've all gone through a lot of
Yes.
the same emotions.
That's
so
exactly
it's
right.
so easy to relate, even if we have a different story.
That's right. Love that.
Well, on the book level, where can our listeners get your book?
Yeah, so you can get it really wherever your favorite books are sold, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Amazon or physical bookstores, Barnes and Noble, etc., Audible, etc. So it's a book that will change your life. Here's what I want you to know about that I think is important. It's not just a book that's designed just to inspire and motivate you. I hope that you feel inspired and I hope you feel motivated. It's a book that's meant to teach. So it's practical, tactical steps. It's all the frameworks and the formulas. It's like the stuff that you would need to actually be today. Like, be is such a present word. Like, how do I be that one today? How do I be the mom today? How do I be the dad today? How do I be the business owner today? How do I be the one in my physical fitness and my health journey? Like today, starting today, like what are the principles I need to do to get into practice today? What's so powerful about that is you create momentum. The secret to life, the secret to business is momentum. It's positive forward momentum. Most people are drifting or they have negative momentum. Drift means, have you ever been out in the ocean and, I don't know, you're just playing, you're just doing your thing, and also you look back and you're like, whoa, how did I get all the way out here? It just kind of pulls you out, you just drift. That's how most people are, they just drift. Versus being hyper intentional, like I'm gonna go there, like I'm gonna get to where I wanna go, set intention, they just kind of just drift in life. Or they have literal spiral negative momentum, they're just going the wrong direction fast. And you wanna be the kind of person that's like, you're going the upward trajectory, upward positive momentum on purpose and by design.
That's great. So at what point did you know that you needed to make a change in your life to be the one for your family?
There's so many of those kind of pivotal moments. I give you two of them real quick. The first one was, I'm 12 years old, my parents are going through a divorce, I'm about to hit 13. We just started school, my 7th grade year. And my birthday's in September, so school started early September, my birthday's coming up. And I'm sitting there in math class, the teacher's talking, I wasn't listening to anything I was saying, I was just kind of like looking out the window, just like whoa, like kind of contemplating my life, And I was like, hey, I'm almost a teenager, 13 years old. And have you guys ever seen those cartoons where they have like a little devil angel on this shoulder and like a little positive angel on this shoulder, I literally was having this conversation with myself. And it was like the little devil angel's like, hey, just so you know, you can do whatever you want now. Like you can like slough school, you can get terrible grades, you can have sex with girls, you can do drugs, you can drink alcohol, you can do whatever the crap you want. And guess what? For the rest of your life, you can blame it on your parents. It wasn't even your fault. Like it's their fault because you got divorced and this is such a pivotal time of your life, it's not your fault. I was like, God, that's a good point. Thanks, good thinking. And then the little angel was like, listen, bro, you can do that. But it's your life that you have to live. It's not their, it's your life. And you have to pay all the consequences if you do all that stuff too. So you can do it, but just know you have to be the one that pays the price if you choose to do that. I was like, oh, that's a good point too. And fortunately, I chose this little good angel, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own life. I'm not gonna blame my parents. So like that thing of like going from like a victim to a victor, from saying I'm gonna own my life versus blame other people, whining, blaming, complaining, making excuses that are, you did this to me, you did that, it's your fault. I'm gonna own my own life. That was a huge kind of decision point. I remember when that first business failed, guys, I poured like everything I had into that thing. I was bawling my eyes out. I was like grown man tears rolling down my face. I was put me in a really precarious financial situation. I was below zero. Not only was I had no money, I was below zero. I was back on taxes, back on credit cards. It was just kind of a stressful time. And that's when we moved my wife into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. So I had two little babies sleeping in the closet. My wife was pregnant with our third, and we had 6 pregnancies, 4 kids. And she would get so sick during the pregnancy. So she would have like the morning sickness thing, but like the worst version of it, but for the whole 9 months, from literally day 1 to delivery. So she'd throw up 12 and 15 times a day. We had to go get IVs. It was just not awesome. And she's such a powerful woman that she would, we had a stillborn birth and a miscarriage. And then we had the 4 kids. And for her, she had 4 C-sections. So she has, 6 pregnancies, 4 babies, 4 C-sections, sick as a dog every single time. Just gave her whole life over to bring these kids to earth, right? And that's all happening as my business has failed. I'm working 2 part-time jobs, one on the weekdays, one on the weekends. I'm trying to get another business going. We're living the lot of my wife's, I mean, just like life is kind of coming at us fast in all angles, you know. And I look back at those now and her support of me, because I tell people, confidence is the foundation of your success. Believing in yourself is the foundation of your success. If you won't believe in you, it's hard to get everyone else to believe in you. However, sometimes you can lean on the confidence someone else has in you. Like you can espouse, like my wife, I remember there's many times we're laying in bed, pitch black, it's 1 in the morning, and I'm like, are you awake? She goes, yeah, are you awake? You know, it's like a sleepless night, you know? And I go, am I crazy? Like, am I chasing like a fake dream? Like, has it ever actually really happened for us? Like, I know it happens for other people. Are we ever gonna really make this thing happen? And I really relied on her belief sometimes. I was just like, I'm out of gas on my belief in me, and she's like, kind of like, you got this. And that her belief kind of pushed me, you know, into like, you know, you're right. And I just kept moving forward, left foot, right foot, positive trajectory. Because I tell people, oftentimes, direction's more important than destination. So destination is, I want to lose 30 pounds. Am I heading the right direction? Am I doing the right things? Maybe I've already lost 3 pounds. Now I'm going to the gym. Now I've cleaned out my pantry, I don't have a bunch of crap in there. Now I'm, you know, maybe understanding my macros a little bit. You know, so I got like a nutrition strategy. Well, dude, if you do, that's the right direction. You may not be at your destination yet, but the direction's right. Sure. In your business, you're like, dude, I'm not making any money at this thing yet. But am I doing the right things? Am I heading the right direction? Am I with the right people? Am I taking the right action? Am I learning the right skills? Am I overcoming adversity properly? So that's direction. Direction's more important than destination. And so for me, I was doing all the right stuff. I was being that one that I was born to be. I was doing all the stuff. I just wasn't there yet, you know. And you know, so anyway, adversity hits. But those are 2 quick ones that I think of. And obviously, there's about 100 more. You know, just those times you're like, man, I'm ready to give up, or I don't know if I have what it takes, or you really get knocked down, or someone betrays you, or whatever happens, and you have to keep moving forward. You know.
No, I mean, just following a map, you know, on GPS, think of GPS, turn right here, turn left here, turn right here. It's not necessarily a straight line all the time. I mean, you have to take these correction courses, come to a construction site, you know, you have a detour, road shutdown, or whatever. There's going to be certain things, but as long as the direction is headed in that right direction, you just keep making the course corrections. You'll get to the destination.
Yeah, and
I love that.
So humans are tribal, for the better and for the worse, right? The worst would be what you see like in politics, where it's just like, if you're on that side, like, I won't talk to you at Thanksgiving dinner. If you're on this side, if you voted for so-and-so, come on, dude, what are we talking about?
Sure.
So humans are very tribal. On the good side, the positive of it, is if you hopefully have friends, and a spouse can do this, hopefully you have people in your life, that if you're acting a fool, your friend can be like, yo, dude, don't freaking do that. Like, what don't do that? Like, because your friends can help instill identity. Your wife or your husband can help you instill identity. Team members can help you instill identity. Identity is, we don't do that on our team. You've seen this with kids. You say, guys, we don't raise kids to do this. We don't lie, we don't cheat. That's identity, right? Absolutely. And it's little course corrections. The direction starts drifting on our kids. And as part of a family, which is part of a tribe, we'll just tap them back in and be like, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. That's not how we roll. Right, okay, dad, okay, mom, got it. And what you've done is those little course corrections to keep them on the right path versus let them stray too far onto, you know, a path that's gonna take them to a wrong destination because their direction gets off.
Sure. No, fantastic. Here we go. All right, just keeping things moving around here. What have you experienced? What moment in your belief have you ever found yourself significantly challenged or tested?
I mean, there's been so many. I mentioned a couple, you know, like when you're 13, you're 12, 13, about ready to decide which direction you want to go, or when my first business failed. My last business I built for 11 years, and there was many times in that journey where you're just like, you know, the odds were stacked against us. We took over an existing company. The company was 25 years old when I showed up, and it had 8 years of declining revenue, so double-digit per year decline, so it was just like going the wrong direction fast. And we came in as part of a transformation team to help kind of transform this company. So the hardest thing to do in business is a turnaround. The second hardest to do is a startup. We did both at the exact same time. You know, when I turn around this company, like doing a startup company. And that was not easy. That was really challenging. But I look back at that, and there were so many of those moments where you were failing, but I tell people you want to fail fast. Failure is not a person, it's an event. So you're not a failure, just had an event that failed, right? And your failure is not final, your failure is fertilizer. And your success will grow in the fertilizer of failure. So you just say to yourself, okay, cool, what I learned, like adjust and adapt, adjust and adapt, adjust and adapt. And you don't let those failures define you, you let those failures direct you into getting to where you eventually want to go. You know, and that's, we've been through so many of those moments where you realize we still got what it takes, even though we just failed. You know, it's like losing battles versus losing the war, you know?
Absolutely.
In closing, is there anything else that, you know, just as far as for us, obviously, we're learning tons from you, we always have. I mean, for us and our listeners, is there any closing remarks or things that you can just share, you know, kind of with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean,
today?
to me, it's super simple. It's 3 words. It's be the one. I know we talked about this, but think of it this way. Be the one is you leave this, you say, you know, I'm going to be that one. Like I tell the story in my book about my 5th generation grandpa, 5th generation great grandma, and how they made decisions in their life that I still have made decisions, like decisions that took me in directions in my life based on their lives.
Wow.
And my son and my kids have too. That's their 6th generation. That's hundreds of years later, you know? And so be the one today that writes a story. Be the one today that makes decisions that future generations look up in their family lineage and they say it was her, you know, or it was him. They're the one that changed it for our family forever. And you ask this question, how many people does it take to break a generational curse of abuse or of addiction? It just takes one. You know, how many people does it take to learn and teach the economic principles that set a family free for generations? It just takes one person. It just takes you, you know? So be that one today that lives a life, writes a story that future generations know your story. They know who you are. You created and designed and lived an unforgettable life.
Well, thank you so much.
Man, I
Thanks
love you
again for
guys.
having you.
Love
Have us in
you.
your
What an
home.
honor to be here with you, and appreciate what you're doing, appreciate the value of the ad, and most importantly, appreciate just who you guys are as human beings. You're just as good as they get.
Thank you so much.
Handshake hugs.
Love it. Let's do it. You're the best. Man, what an honor to be with you guys. Number 1.
Yes, sir.
Well done, bro.
Thanks for
We can keep
letting
rapping.
us come
Yeah.
here too.
Use the restroom real quick.
All right.